to the WWAD. What would the Anglicans do? I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Hannah. And today we're going to be interviewing two pastors of the Anglican Church and two congregants. I'm excited.
Hi, my name is Mary Beth, and I'm a member of the Mission Cleveland, and I also just became a confirmed Anglican.
So, how did you come to the Anglican tradition, and what does your life look like as a faithful Anglican?
So I actually grew up Baptist. When I came to Lee University, I went to the liturgical chapel, which was my first interaction with liturgy in a more traditional way. And it was very theologically sound as well. I realized through this experience that there's a need for church to look restful and consistent. I really love the Anglican church that I went to in college and that it makes space for people who think differently. I also love the consistency and to be reminded of the same thing every week, such as communion and the Apostles' Creed. I am now actually a confirmed Anglican, and as a faithful Anglican, I listen to a podcast called The Daily Office every morning, which is a call and response reading through the Book of Common Prayer. I also am a consistent member of the community at the Mission.
Hi, I'm Stuart John, and I am a member of Mission Cleveland Parish.
So how did you come to the Anglican tradition, and how did you become a member of the Anglican Church?
Yeah, so I actually grew up Church of God, and it wasn't until college that I visited an Anglican church, and I really fell in love with their liturgy, and it felt like I was at home. So Mission Cleveland calls members stewards, hence my name, Stuart John. And I became a steward by attending a one-day retreat or class called Pathways. And this contains a set of commitments. For example, commitment to serve the church, commitment to giving, and commitment to community growth. And there's also a small liturgy where you have a public declaration of your membership, stewardship to the church in front of the congregation. So there's also a different step to become a confirmed Anglican, which I also took that step. That again is kind of like a confirmation class, but you need the bishop to lay hands over you and confirm you as an Anglican. So the bishop will come around once a year to confirm Anglicans into the church.
What is the Anglican view on women being ordained in the church hierarchy?
Yeah, so the Anglican Church of North America, which is what we're a part of, believes that women can be ordained in the priesthood, just not as bishops. But, however, they allow each diocese to decide whether they can be priests or simply deacons. So our diocese does not allow women as priests, but only allows them to be ordained as deacons.
Hi, my name is Luke, and I'm a deacon here at the Mission Parish.
So how did you come to the Anglican Church?
So I actually grew up Southern Baptist. I didn't really like how the church had transformed from this beautiful historic structure to now this coffee shop vibe that is really visitor center and attractive to newcomers. I really saw a lack of sacramental thought behind most church services. So I started visiting church services and I fell in love with the Anglican's church liturgy, and it made me feel really connected to the ancient and historic church.
So what was the ordination process to become a deacon?
So I actually had to get a master's degree of some sort in ministry in order to apply to become a deacon. You also need a spouse letter of recommendation if you're married, which I am. Then there's a discernment process where you meet with people from the church who affirm that you are called to do ministry. There's also an exam with history, Bible questions, and you have to write a sermon. I had to take a psych eval, and then you also go through abuse training to learn how to safeguard your church. Finally, the bishop must lay hands on you in order to ordain you. There's a lot of intentionality behind this 1 to 2 year long process of becoming a deacon.
Hello, I'm Father Justin. I am the priest here at Mission Cleveland Parish.
How did you come to the Anglican Church?
So I actually grew up Pentecostal, and I switched to Anglicanism in college because I was looking for something more intellectually rich. There's a sense of holiness within the Anglican Church that I just fell in love with.
How do Anglicans view the saints?
So Anglicanism traditionally understands that every person of faith is a saint. The Anglican Church has specific days in our liturgy that celebrate the saints from the past. The saints are faithful in a way that we want to emulate, and they present the work of the gospel in us. The saints are something to hold in value, but not to pray to. They have a lot to teach us about being Christians.
How did you become a priest?
So it's the same process as becoming a deacon, except when I was ordained as a deacon, I became what's called a transitional deacon. So after that, I interned for 6 months at a church, and at the end of that time period, I took another test, which is more so a check-in with the bishop, and then I was ordained as a priest. So in total, it's a 5-year process.
If you could change one thing about your denomination, what would that be?
I would actually change the allowance for women to be ordained as priests.
What is one thing that you would change about the Anglican denomination?
I would definitely say that I wish that our diocese allowed women to be ordained in the priesthood. I know that other ones do, but I wish that we could allow for that.
What is one thing that you would change about the Anglican denomination?
I would change the ordination of women as not only being allowed to be deacons, but also being allowed to be priests in our diocese.
Thanks for joining us on WWAD. I'm Alyssa,
And I'm Hannah.
and we'll see you next time.